Hi, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Today we're in the shop to build the InvestArm Plains Pistol. But unlike the other builds where I've used the tools that I'm used to working with here in the shop, I wanted to get an idea of what it's like to build one of these muzzleloader kits with commercially available and affordable tools. So I went to Harbor Freight and we're going to be building this particular kit exclusively with hand tools from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight is not in any way affiliated with this video. I just personally think of, and many of my friends think of, Harbor Freight as kind of the lowest of the low tier for kind of junky and almost disposable tools. And I wanted to see if somebody could spend as little as 50 bucks on a set of tools and be able to finish one of these and make it look nice. To get started here, we're going to unbox our parts for our InvestArm Plains pistol here. We do have the percussion lock or the Caplock variant here. Inside, we've got our manual. And something I think is kind of interesting on this on first look is a lot of it's already put together here. Or at least roughly put together. It's not fastened down. We have our trigger guard fastened down there. But everything's kind of assembled as it comes, which is different from the InvestArms Gemmer Hawken that we put together last year. You can see down in here we have some loose parts bouncing around. I imagine in shipping they've gotten loose from the bag. Inside here it looks like we have some more parts. Oh, and you can see here, got a little tiny baby screw there and a couple more that got out of our bag in shipment, it looks like. With all this stuff being a little bit loose, I'm going to go through and make sure that I have all of the parts that I need, or the parts that I should have. If I can find our instructions in here. Okay. So this manual here is just the operations for the muzzleloader. It looks like this is all we have right now for instructions. So I think we're going to be defining a little bit of the instructions here. So it looks like we should have 4 of these tiny screws, number 19. Now something I like to do is I get a parts bin going immediately, and a situation like this I think is good for us to do. And this just makes it harder for me to lose my parts. You can use, you know, any kind of leftover container that you have, any shop box or bag or anything. Right off the bat here, I know I need to locate one of these small black screws. I am just going to put the bag in there too, just in case. And I'm going to fold these flaps up. Not seeing it. Make sure that it's not in our pistol here. So after taking stock here for a minute, it looks like we're missing one of these screws, number 19. These are our barrel key extension screws. I'm not too worried about this. Personally, I do know that this seems to be fairly common for the InvestArms kits. And if you contact muzzleloaders.com, they usually will ship you a replacement. What I do is I'll just look in my screw storage here in the shop, see if I have a screw that matches, or I'll take one of these screws to the hardware store and just pick up a replacement there for, like, I don't know, a nickel, thankfully. This is what it looks like straight out of the box. We have everything kind of put together here. Our ramrod is holding our barrel in and our barrel rib. We have a rough cast brass trigger guard here. What I like about this is we have a belt loop, which is kind of cool. You don't see that a whole lot, and it's a neat thing to have on your muzzleloader like this one here. So what I'm going to do now is place that down on off of half cock, and I'm going to finish attaching our parts as we have them here, with the exception probably of our sights, just because I'm going to have to take those out to clean up our barrel. Although the barrel looks pretty clean, really. Something that's impressive, I think, is that's pretty much ready to finish if you wanted to, but we're going to do things a little bit differently, I think. So I'm going to start dry fitting everything here just right off the bat. I'm going to start with my barrel tang screw. Tighten that down. That presumably goes down in here to our lock plate. Then I'm going to drop in our key extensions here, run our barrel key in there. That's a little loose, feels like. But we can remedy that by torquing our key a little bit. Ideally we want that to be pretty tight. To remedy that, I'm just going to grab this in the vise, and you can see it looks pretty straight. I'm just going to give this a couple taps. We've got a little kink in there now. Still a little loose. Oop, that's probably a little too much there. Oh yeah. Straighten that back out just a touch. Yeah, see what I'm getting there? That's just rocking. Way too much for me to be comfortable with there. It's just a little loose. That's much better now. In fact, we're just going to knock a little bit out of that. You want to be careful adjusting that barrel key like that, just because you don't want to pop that casting or bust it. So I'm going really careful with that. I've done this quite a few times on cast parts like this, but you can see now that we don't have any wobble in that at all. And that's just a rough fit because we don't have our extension plates mounted, but getting it to where we don't have a wobble there in between those, I think is fine. You know, you probably want to go ahead and mount your extension plates in there, but we're just kind of rocking and rolling here so far. I'm interested here, because of our lack of instructions, let's see. This screw here holding our belt hook in looks to be our lock bolt based on our diagram. That bolt goes through and connects to our lock plate here, so that's our lock bolt. You know, we do have a little bit of rotation there. The diagram shows that larger plate going on the exterior, but it's not going to fit that way. So I'm going to run it on the inside there. And typically what we see on these belt hooks is we see them on the exterior, like seen here. So we don't have really an opportunity to mesh this wood surface well with that belt hook. If we wanted to do that, we can kind of mesh it with the plate underneath, I think, and keep this hook on the exterior if we really want to, if we want to go that route. Another thing we could do is we could inlet this deeper to match our side plate mortise with that, but I think what I will end up doing is matching the side plate mortise to our washer or this plate here underneath. What are they calling that? 18. Lock screw bushing. That makes sense. So we'll match this face here with that. Should be able to pop our lock plate out like that. There you can see our very simple inlet. We do have, you can see it there, in our trigger cavity, we do have a chunk of wood in there. So that's something to check for, something to make sure you get out. Okay. Overall, as far as unboxing goes, very simple. A lot of it's already put together for us. We've just got to, we've really just got to make the stock fit the style that we're going for. The stock is pretty rough. It's come off of a duplicating machine of some kind in this state. And presumably this is what InvestArms hands off to their workers to finish out to make the finished versions of these pistols. Maybe their machines take a little bit farther on those. That just saves them and their workers time and money. So what we're going to start doing next is we're just going to start the rough shaping of all of this. We want to knock down our nose up here to be flush with our nose cap. We want to bring our belly here down under to match with our trigger guard, so we have a nice inlet there instead of this rough nature here. Across the back here through our grip, you can see it's pretty rough. We want to take that down. We want to establish these mortises on both sides and get this really cleaned up, turn it into a nice profile, I think. So we're going to come in with some files here, some pictures. We can start roughing this in and start making it what we want.